Need your pressure washing supplies fast? PPW Express brings you top brands, always in stock, and a mobile app that lets you order in seconds. Enjoy same-day shipping on every order placed before 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. Download the PPW Express app today.
Stand out with custom gear from DAB Marketing. No design fees, no minimum orders. Just premium sublimated shirts built for the service industry. Look professional, look sharp. Get your gear from DAB Marketing.
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday evening, everybody. I'm Anthony from the Clean Humor Podcast. Trudy's not going to be with us tonight. If she lands, the plane lands safely somewhere, she will probably jump on in a few minutes if she has time. But a couple of announcements we need to make. We got CETA coming up in October. In November, we're going to have the Panhandle Expo. It's going to be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of November in Panama City Beach. And coming up this month, we have a special treat coming to the Panhandle Power Wash Supply Warehouse. It is Trident's going to be over there for a one-day training course, which we're going to cover that tonight on what they're going to be going over, what they're going to be instruct you on how to do, what not to do, and how to do it correctly, and why their product is the product you should use for this stuff. And we're here with Justin Morrow tonight from Trident. He is the representative of that section for Trudy down at the Panhandle. So, Justin, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Trident, cleaning and paver sealing and all that.
Sure thing. So, actually, I started off, I left an 18-year career in real estate and mortgages in 2017. I just kind of got fed up. And so what can I do where I can put in earbuds, listen to music, and just do my thing? And so I started a home services company in 2017 and rapidly grew that into a couple of different divisions, lawn care, landscape design, install, maintenance, pressure washing, roof washes, house washes, paver sealing. Got into that and fell in love with it. So again, started paver sealing back in, honestly, probably about 2018, 2019. And, bounced around, tried a bunch of different products. And then probably 6 years ago, I went to my first Trident class, and it was at that moment that I knew. And of course, I'm going to sound like this because I'm the rep now, so I think Trident's the best. But, when I was a contractor, and as contractors, I get that you guys have a choice in, who you use, what you use, who you partner with. But when I went to that first Trident training class, it was a different level. There's a lot of good products out there. But the thing that set them apart and the reason I stuck with them was the training and the support. I haven't seen anything else like it. And I made it very clear early on that I wanted to be part of that team eventually. And it took about 2.5 years to get me on board. But as of September of last year, I sold my business to my brother's family and became the North Florida Trident rep. So, for those of you guys that are in Florida and you've been using Trident for a while, or even if you haven't used Trident for a while, you probably know my sister rep, Danielle. She used to cover all of Florida, and now she covers the southern half of Florida, and I've got the northern half of Florida and the Panhandle. And then we've got reps all over the country. So if you're not in Florida, we still got your back. So that's kind of the short, where I came from, how I got into it type of answer right there. And I've got some notes here to make sure I don't miss anything, and I'm sure I will. But I talked about why I tried it. Again, it goes back to the support and the education. I'm a very field present rep. So I constantly go out on job sites, look at stuff, look at problems. I've been on quotes with new clients or new contractors, problem jobs. I'll go out on, take a look at them, show them what to do. And all of our reps offer that type of stuff to our contractors. So we want to make sure that you actually have a partner in the business.
So what's the bare necessity of equipment you would have to use, the need to get into the sealing business?
That's kind of a trick question. I started off with a 4 gallon a minute. I didn't know what I was buying at the time. I got maybe the 4 gallon a minute, 4,000 psi. Simpson power washer on a rolly cart, and I did my first year like that, and it wasn't fun, but you can do it. And then I had 2 4 Siamese together, and then I went and got an 8 gallon a minute. It all depends on your budget, and are you doing this on the side? Or are you making a full time gig out of this? I would say ideally, if the budget supports it, go with an 8 gallon a minute minimum to start.
But you
again,
can get by with a 4, 5.5.
you can, yeah. Like I said, I did it my first year. I will tell you that when I went from a 4 to 2 4 Siamese together, I thought 4 plus 4 equaled 8. It didn't.
In usually mathematical terms, it does.
Yeah. But when I bought my first 8 gallon a minute, I honestly thought they sold me a 10 by mistake, because that new 8 gallon a minute was so much more powerful than my 2 4s put together, that I thought 4 plus 4 equaled 8, but it didn't. So I will tell you that just by doubling my GPM, I probably tripled my efficiency in the time that it took me to prep a driveway. So, out there with a 4 gallon a minute on an average driveway, I was probably out there 3 hours turboing and rinsing and putting down our different cleaners and going through the 1, 2, 3 process, which I can get into here in a little bit. Treating for effluent and using a Point Break, which is our bleach alternative, and our degreaser, neutralizer. I probably went from about 3 hours to prep a driveway down to about 45 minutes, maybe, with an 8. So, if you have to start small, start small. There's nothing wrong with that. Especially if you're getting into it to see if you like it. Once you decide that's what you want to do, then I would work towards, upgrading equipment.
Yeah. No, when I started in pressure washing bins, I had I think it was a 4.5, maybe a 5, but it was one of them that was on the road, had the 2 wheels on it, had the handle on it. You could take it anywhere you wanted to go.
Oh, yeah. I got mine off at Tractor Supply on a Black Friday sale, and pick it up, put it in the back of the truck. Then I got some ramps, and so you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, so, roll up your hose out on the ground, pick them up, throw them back to the truck.
Yep.
I tired of that, and then I bought a little trailer. We rode it up on it to start with. It was a piece of crap trailer. It looked like it was about to fall apart going down the road, but it hung in there for a while. And I told the wife, I said, well, I'm getting tired of everything sitting out in the weather, so we bought an enclosed trailer. We put it in the enclosed trailer. Well, then I changed my mind on that one. I said, well, the reason I changed my mind because we went into Applebee's and we was eating lunch one day. And I noticed that their sidewalk when we walked in was just filthy, just dirty. And I was asked the waitress or waiter, I forgot if it was a man or a woman that was waiting on us anyway. I said, you got a manager in here that I can give them a card to, a business card? They pressure washing them, see if they got anybody that does the pressure washing. She said, I'll take the card and give it to him. He's here today, the one that you really need to talk to. Well, just lo and behold, he comes out and introduces himself, and we get up and we go walk around and everything. So I land the deal. I start out with 4. They said if I like my work, then I'll start out with 6. Then I'm going to get some more. Then I'm getting some more. So we was running, I think I had 16 of them when we stopped, but they didn't pay much. I mean, they were the lowest paying contract that still to this day, they still are. And so then we changed our mind. I said, I need something bigger. I got to have something to get me in and get me out. Started looking on Marketplace, found a big old trailer in Pensacola. Had a hot box on it, hot water unit. So we hauled but to Pensacola and bought it. And it's just been going up, steadily up ever since for the last 8-9 years. And, you can't stay in one spot. If you do, you're just going to go stagnant. You got to grow somehow. And
and I'll tell you, I never had hot water. It does come in handy on certain situations, stripping or oil stains, that kind of stuff. Luckily, I had friends that if I had a really bad one, I could call and have a buddy come over and help me out for a minute. That's another thing is, I used to get people would ask me, why are you helping all these other contractors? Like I would go to trainings and teach other people in my area how to do this. And, I've always thought that, I'd rather have friends in the business than, enemies. And I don't have any enemies, but, I've been an hour away from my house and I forgot my downstream injector one day. Like, the cheapest part that you can have, but you're out of business without it. And luckily I called somebody, and then within 20 minutes, he was over there giving me his downstream injector. I've had people offer to let me borrow their truck when my truck was down, or their trailer when my machine was down, or whatever. So, networking and, helping each other out is just, it goes a long way. And I've always been, the first person to try to help somebody out. So, that's just kind of my mentality on that.
I mean, if you help people get where they want to be, the Lord's gonna raise you up.
Yep.
I mean, that's just scripture based, in which I believe in the Word of God and everything, but that's a whole different story. We can get into that if we want to, but we'll be here all night. But anyway, back to the 19th. Is that correct?
Yes, March 19th.
March the 19th. And this is an all-day event.
It is an all-day event, and it is going to be the most inclusive one-day training event that Trident has ever done. Okay. And the reason I say that is typically on our one-day training classes, and we don't. Before
you go in, hold on one second. Let me cut you off. I don't want to cut you off, but I got to. If you put a face value on this training that's going to be done, what would you say? If y'all was going to go to a show and set up and train for this and train for what y'all training for, the 19th, what would the price be per person to take this training?
Well, Danielle and I just talked to another contractor that went to someone else to get trained, and they spent $1,500 to go on a job site and work with someone. So I'd probably easily say $1,000, $1,500, and I'm going to cover more than just paver sealing. So typically, when we do a one-day class, it's clean and sand, go to lunch, come back, touch up sand, any high spots, low spots, and then put the sealer down. So it's a full-size job. It's not a palletized training. It's not, one paver or, a 4x4 section or anything like that. We do full-size job sites. We do teach a 2-day process, but it's difficult to get contractors there 2 days in a row. So we tell you should do a 2-day process, but we condense it into 1 day just because it's a training scenario. So at Trudy's, the reason I say this is going to be the most intensive training that we've ever done is the paver pad that we're doing is a pretty small area compared to, a full-size 2-car driveway or whatever. So we're still going to get to go through the whole process. You're going to learn everything. But that's going to give me time to do additional things. So they have a concrete pad that they're going to clean for us the day before. So it's already prepped. And we're going to seal concrete while we're there. I don't know if you guys have seen the video where I pour red Gatorade on our sealed concrete or not. I can upload it to the group later or something. But it's pretty impressive. It's very easy to do. And it's a very comfortable entry point for pressure washers that may be intimidated by the whole clean sand seal process, but sealing concrete is much easier, and it's kind of a baby step into the sealing world.
Where can you find that at? Where you the red?
What the video or the product?
The video.
It is on our Trident Protects. We have a couple of Facebook pages. I was going to go into that. Our original Facebook page is Trident Protects Contractors Only on Facebook, because it's for contractors only. Then we also have regional groups, and there's a link. I'll talk about this in a second, but there's a link where you can click on the state that you're in, and it will take you to your regional group, because different regions have different issues that they deal with. People from up north love solvent-based sealer and poly sand. Down here, it's not the best thing for our climate. Are there times that we use poly sand? Absolutely. But that's when it's our best option. Usually we're using regular joint sand and letting the sealer stabilize the joints. So, so let me rewind. The Facebook groups: Trident protects contractors only. Trident protects Florida contractors, because I'm in Florida. And then we do have regional groups, and I'll share the link with that for you in a second. So that video is on there. I post a ton of content, video content on that Facebook group, the Florida Contractors Group. Tips, tricks, how-tos, issues that people call me with. I'll try to highlight an issue per week or a challenge or something, just because I know that's not the only person dealing with it. So, if people can learn from those emails that I send out or the text that I answer or whatever, I'll take that information and post it into the group, because I know somebody else is going to face that challenge.
Right.
So circle back real quick. So we're going to do the paver sealing, the clean sand seal. We're going to do concrete sealing. We are going to demonstrate stripping. We have a new stripper that's out. And we are going to demonstrate tinting pavers. Because I used to tint quite a bit of jobs and I get asked a lot of questions. And I actually did a tinting class that everybody will have access to. So real quick, let me just, our website is tridentprotects.com. Today we created a link for you guys, which is tridentprotects.com/Trudy. And if you go to that page, I had to check my notes here real quick. If you go to that page, there's going to be a link to our resource library. So all of our TDSs, our SDSs, our marketing materials, our sealer selection guide, our cleaner selection guide. Then we've got a link to our social media accounts. So again, all the different Trident Protects regional Facebook pages, where you can connect with other contractors in your area and the rep for your area. And I'll go over our different reps and the areas they cover.
So what time are we going to get started on this? Is it going to be like 8 o'clock in the morning? Or 9
we usually get about 8:30 to register and really get going about 8:45, 9 o'clock. Because I know some people are going to be driving in that morning, so we don't want to start too early. We want to give people enough time to get there.
Because I know there's some questions they want to know where it's going to be at. It's going to be at the Panhandle Power Wash.
It's going to be at Trudy's store.
It's going to actually be right across the road at their property. They got a bunch of pavers out there and a concrete driveway and stuff that's going to be working on and get the training there. But it's in Freeport, Florida. I'll get somebody to put the address up on the screen here in a second. We will. The address, and that's going to be March the 19th at 8:30.
Yep. And anybody that wants to go, that the tridentprotects.com Trudy link that I just talked about, real quick, our winter series is covered on there. That's a series of classes that the various reps have been teaching during the slower months. That's where you can find my tip training PowerPoint and video. We also do a book club where we're reading like a business book every few months and discussing it with our contractors and how to grow. Or like right now we're reading the Pumpkin Plan, talking about treating your business like farming and cutting back the bad vines and the leaves and focusing on the prized pumpkins. So something you can take part of if you want to. The last link on that tridentprotects.com Trudy link is the T3 University, and that is Trident's online education portal. That's where we have our intro to sealing class. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hour long class that we ask people to take before coming to a training. But also on that link, you have all the dates of all the trainings that we're doing across the country with me and Danielle in Florida, and then all the reps throughout the country. So if we've got people that are listening from other states, all of your reps trainings are located there. I think we have about 20 or 25 paver sealing classes this spring, and then we'll probably have the same number in the fall, scattered all throughout the U.S. As far as the other reps. So, like I said, I cover North Florida. Danielle Torres covers South Florida. We have Brad Beard, who covers Georgia, the Carolinas, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee. We have Keith Ayotte, who covers New York City, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. We have Jason Piccone that covers New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Goodness gracious.
And then we have John Tobin that covers Arizona, New Mexico, and California. Now, if I didn't name your state, it's okay. These guys have secondary territories. So, whereas I only cover half the state of Florida, it's all about contractor density. So, I can cover half the state of Florida, and I have enough contractors. These guys, these other reps that have 3 states or 5 states or whatever, they also have secondary territories. So you can reach out to them. If you have any question on who your rep is, just contact me and I'll point you in the right direction. So you don't have to track it down. All you got to do is call me or hit me up on Facebook. Real quick, I'll give you my phone number. It's 630-549-4614. So again, just reach out to me if you have a question on who your local rep is, and I'll get you connected with the right person. As far as training goes, we've got the T3 University, the online class. We've got the live group trainings like we're doing at Trudy's. And then once you do the T3 University, the online class, you also unlock the ability to have your rep come out on a job site with you and do a one-on-one training. So the group trainings are free. We don't charge for them. We should, but they're free. You don't have to do anything except show up and be ready to learn. We provide the job site. We provide the materials, everything. We provide lunch. On the one-on-one trainings as a contractor, let's say that you've gone to the online class and the group training and you're ready to jump in. You go out, you find the job site, you buy the material, you contact your rep and work out a date and time that work for both of you. And as long as everything lines up, then the rep will come out on the job site with you and, basically supervise the job and make sure you don't mess it up. And and that's free.
Oh,
that's free, by the way. So there's no charge for that.
So if I decide I want to go into paver sealing, you're saying that I can get the job, get everything, and if he was my rep in my area in Alabama, I call you up, we set a time up, and you come out and you help me go through step by step. Because if I did this, that would be completely, well, I'm not going to say completely, totally new. We did, I know stamped concrete is totally different than paver sealing, but I did get on a job year before last. My customers had a big concrete driveway on the lake, had stamped dyed border around it, kind of like brick and stuff. Had somebody come in there and they tried to seal it, whatever they tried to do to it. Didn't take, messed it up, all kind of stuff. So I had to go in there and try to fix it. As far as I know, it's still on there because she ain't calling me back. So I mean,
no news is good news, right?
I guess. But I'm sure just regular pavers are a lot different than stamped concrete.
Oh yeah, and a perfect example of why we have the regional groups. So I like to think I'm pretty darn good at sealing pavers. I've sealed a lot. I don't know anything about stamped concrete just because we don't have it in my area. So that's why we have the regional Facebook groups, so that you can talk to, these are great areas to go ask questions, not only for your rep, but also to get feedback from other contractors in the network and find those friends in the business that can help you out on these jobs. I had a contractor reach out to me about stamped concrete, and I said, look, man, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know. So what I did is I connected him with one of our northern reps who does a ton of that stuff up in his area. And, so we bounce ideas and techniques and experience off each other. And again, I haven't seen that anywhere else. And that's why I wanted to be, part of the Trident team, and, finally happened. So.
Look like we're gonna have a good time the 19th. So we just really want to encourage everybody just to get out there, get registered. I think you can go probably to the Panhandle site and get registered for it. You got to register for it, or you just show up.
You got to register for it.
Okay, I guess it's on the Panhandle site, probably on the Trident site.
It's on the Trident on that T3 University site. That's on the Trudy link. Go ahead and get registered because one, I need to know how many people are going to be there because I got to know how much lunch to buy. We do strongly suggest / require you to do the hour and a half long intro course prior to coming to the class. That way, there's at least some level of knowledge as to what we're doing that day. I'm not having to start from scratch with everyone. We invest a lot of time into sending our reps out into the field and putting up these trainings for free, and we ask that in return you guys take the online class first and then show up ready to go.
Look, we got to work a little bit on our side too, guys. Just not show up and expect a free lunch.
Show up and be like, what's pavers? What's sand? It's not that bad.
Do you have the colored sand too?
Yeah. So we've got, in fact, I'll go over, that's one of my notes is to go over our major products. We do offer 6 different colors of sand. They are all ASTMC 144 grade paver joint sand. It's not, play sand from Home Depot. It's not pool filter sand. It's not, silica sand. If you want to start at the bottom, you've got your play sand and then you work your way up. And ours is at the top. It's like I said, ASTMC 144 grade angular paver joint sand that is kiln dried. There's no moisture in it. So there's not organics growing in the bag already. We offer 6 different colors in regular joint sand and then 6 different colors in poly sand. So either way, we've got you covered. I mentioned earlier that we don't really use a lot of poly sand in Florida. Reason being the humidity. It never just wants to fully set up because we have high water tables and the humidity and just, but there are times that is the best option. For example, if you're using a penetrating sealers don't lock in joint sand. Right. So in that case, if joint stability is a concern for the customer, then I will use poly sand because that's the best option in that scenario. Otherwise, I'm using a joint stabilizing sealer and letting the sealer lock the regular joint sand in, if that makes sense. So we've got, mainly in Florida, we've got 4 sealers that you're going to use. Hurricane Cat 5, so let me break this down. We've got 2 film formers and 2 penetrating sealers that are primary in Florida. Hurricane Cat 5 is by far our flagship product. That's going to be the answer about 95% of the time. Hurricane Cat 5 is a wet look satin to semi-gloss to gloss sealer. I can get it to do anything I want to because I know how to play with it. That is a film forming joint stabilizing sealer. A 7-gallon kit covers up to 2,000 square feet, 2 coats. Then we have Cyclone, which is
that's a lot of coverage.
Yeah. Now, of course, this is something I teach in the training classes. There are 5 things there we go. Let me get my hand in the frame there. 5 things that determine the outcome of a job, the way it's going to look. 3 of those things we do not control as contractors. Age, porosity, and condition. There's nothing we can do about those. The things that I can control are my mix ratio. Am I making 15 gallons out of that kit or 20 gallons out of that kit? Obviously, the more concentrated, the more color enhancement, the more sheen I'm going to get. The less concentrated mix, I'm still going to have good color enhancement and good sheen, but not as good as the thicker mix. Okay.
Right.
So age, condition, porosity, we don't control. Mix ratio, I do control, and application technique. And the reason I say application technique is a lot of these pavers made since COVID are very thirsty and take extra sealer. So I quote those higher than regular pavers. I used to add 20% on what I call post-COVID pavers. So if I'm going to do, let's say the customer wants a wet look but very low sheen, then I'll do a wet on wet application. So let's say I'm doing a driveway and I spray my first coat starting at the garage, working down to the street. As soon as I finish my first coat, I'm immediately going back and putting my second coat on, not giving that first coat time to set up. Now, let's say they want wet look but with a level of sheen to it, a semi-gloss or a gloss. I'm going to spray that first coat down. I'm going to let it sit for like an hour. Then I'm going to put my top coat on, because the longer I let that first coat set up, the more of that second coat is going to sit up top and reflect the sun and give the sheen that they're looking for. So there's different ways that you can play around with the finish. Those are all things you can reach out to your rep and ask them how to do. I don't know how many buckets of Cat 5 I've sprayed. It's a lot. So I can get it to do anything I want it to do. So we talked about film formers. We got Cat 5 and Cyclone. I started talking about Cyclone. Cat 5 is wet look, satin to semi-gloss gloss. Cyclone is natural matte look. I always tell customers, if you want it to look like I didn't do a darn thing to your pavers, Cyclone is the sealer for you.
Right.
They will be cleaned, they will be sanded, they will be sealed. There will be no visual difference in the pavers. There's no wet look, there's no sheen. Cyclone's designed for one coat, and it comes in a 5-gallon ready-to-use bucket. So you got to buy more buckets of Cyclone to equal a kit of Cat 5. But again, that's stuff your rep can walk you through when you're, trying to pick what sealer. Oh, we also have a sealer selection guide. So on the resources tab on our website, when you're new to us and you're not sure which sealer to use, it's literally a flow chart. Do you want color enhancement? Yes or no? Do you need joint stabilization? Yes or no? And you just follow the flow chart and it will tell you what sealer you need. Okay. We have the same thing on our cleaner selection guide. What kind of state are you trying to clean? We talk about our 1, 2, 3 process, cleaning for effluent, cleaning for organics, degreasing and neutralizing. So that's our 1, 2, 3 to make sure that we have the optimum, and that's something you'll learn about Trident. Make sure you have the optimum level of clean and prep for your pavers to get the best adhesion and the longest lasting seal out of your sealer. I know there's a lot of different ways to do paver sealing, and I'm not here to argue with anybody.
Right.
You do a 1-day process, a 2-day process. You do this, you do that. We will always teach the optimum way to do stuff. What you choose to do with that as a business owner, that's up to you and your client. But we will always teach, like when we do trainings. Yes, we do them in 1 day, but we say this should be a 2-day process, and here's why. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and tell you. So when we clean a paver driveway or pool deck or whatever it is, mostly a driveway though, you put so much water into that paver system when you're cleaning it,
right,
that I want that thing to sit overnight and drain. Because on day 2, when I show up to seal and I'm spraying that flood coat down and I'm flooding those joints, if those joints are saturated with water, that sealer can only go so far.
That's just going to stop at the water.
Right. But if those joints have dried out, then that sealer can seep deeper into those joints and lock that sand in better. And on a walkway or a pool deck, it may not make that much of a difference. But on a driveway where you've got the weight of vehicles going in and out day after day after day, it 1,000% makes a difference.
Right.
So
you would want, you said a while ago, spray a wet over wet. So you're talking about don't let the product dry and then spray over the top of it, and you get a deeper sheen on it, correct?
Well, no, wet on wet is going to mute the sheen because you're not letting that first coat set up, so it's going to soak in, and then I spray my second coat and it immediately soaks in too. Right. Whereas if I wait an hour or a couple hours, I've even gone back the next day to put a top coat on because they wanted it shinier.
Oh, okay.
So if I let that first coat set up, when I go to spray that second coat, it's going to stay on top.
Okay.
Because that first coat's already dry. But if that first coat's still soaking in and I spray that second coat, they're going to soak in together. So you get a more muted look. So like in Jacksonville, where I'm from, Jacksonville, Florida, most people wanted a wet look satin maybe a wet look semi-gloss. Down south, they love to gloss up the driveways. Like you need sunglasses to when you drive past the driveway because they're so shiny. Um, Something that my boss, Mike Kilgore, always said was the higher the shine or the higher the sheen, the higher the problems. When you're putting sealers are supposed to be breathable. And when you put layer on layer on layer on layer to build up shine, eventually you're going to choke out the paver system because they're supposed to be able to drain down and evaporate up. And while the sealer is breathable, it's just like if you took a Kleenex and put it over your face and tried to breathe. You could probably do it with one Kleenex, maybe two, but the more layers you put on, the harder it's going to get for that system to breathe. So, that's why we say the higher the shine, the higher the problems. Plus, the higher the shine, the higher the slip. So if you've got a sloped driveway or a pool deck and somebody says, I want it glossy, do you? I always brought that up to them.
Yeah, I have to explain that one to them real careful, won't you?
Yeah. So we talked about our two film formers, our two penetrating sealers, our seawall and breakwall. Breakwall is a water-based penetrating sealer, and seawall is a solvent-based penetrating sealer. And I think, did I mention about the Gatorade video?
You did mention it.
I did?
Yeah.
Okay. I've talked to so many people today, I can't remember who I told what. So, that's like when somebody calls me, do you remember that paper job we talked about 2 weeks ago? No, I don't. Refresh my memory. Breakwall and seawall are penetrating invisible sealers for the most part. Seawall can enhance some things. We'll talk about that. But breakwall is water-based, and in Florida sun, you're going to get 2 to 3 years out of it. Seawall is a solvent-based penetrating sealer. You're going to get about twice the lifespan out of it, but not at twice the cost. Seawall is about $100 more a bucket than breakwall is, but again, you get twice the life out of it. And seawall is what we're going to use at Trudy's, so you guys will get to see that firsthand, or at least those of you that are coming. So, but like I said, penetrating sealers do not lock in joint sand. So anytime I was doing a pool deck, I used to have a couple of pool companies in Jacksonville that referred me business, and pool builders, that is. And so like on travertine, limestone, fire rock, whatever pool deck material, if it's a natural stone, I was putting a penetrating sealer on it because one, they don't. There's not a possibility of them delaminating because they soak in, they don't sit on top, but also they do not increase the slipperiness or the slip coefficient of a surface. So something I used to do is I would have natural stone, and I'd have brick paver samples too, but I'd have natural stone paver samples where I'd have one side raw, not sealed, and one side sealed with a penetrating sealer. And then I would go sit it down on the coping of the pool, and I'd splash some water on it so it was wet. And then I'd tell the customer, okay, take your shoes off and step on that. Tell me which side you like, or do you feel a difference or whatever. And I also had one done with a film former sealer on one side and a penetrating sealer on one side in case they couldn't decide which way they wanted to go, because natural stone's already kind of slippery. And then if you put a film former on it, it's going to become more slippery, even if you put anti-slip down. Anti-slip granules are going to wear off in about 12 months, especially in high traffic areas. And the only way to put more anti-slip granules down is to spray another coat of film former sealer on there to lock them in. So you're adding anti-slip, but you're adding a layer of sealer to lock it in. So, we just went to straight penetrating sealer on pool decks, on natural stone pool decks, that is.
And I was saying up through here earlier, somebody said that Rusty said it's not dyed colored sand.
Correct. So I wish I had a sand sampler. They're all in my truck. But you can see our sand colors on the Trident website. We have pearl, tan, gray, fieldstone, platinum, and black. They are all crushed aggregate. So the color of the sand is the color of the sand. It's not going to change. It's not going to fade. The only thing I'll say about it not changing colors is if you sand first and then you put tint down, the tint will obviously tint the sand.
Right.
But when I teach tinting, I teach to tint the raw brick first with water and tint, then sand so that you don't change the color of the sand that the customer picked out, and then seal. So does it add steps? It does it add time? Yes, but charge accordingly. Um, I teach on the tinting to tint the raw paver with water and tint, not to mix it into your sealer, because sealer does wear off over time. And if your sealer is tinted, as it wears off, you run the risk of having uneven color in your seal job. And then trying to spot match that down the road is an absolute nightmare. So I always tell people tint the raw stone first, let it dry, and then put your sand in and then seal. But I cover that in that tinting class that's on the winter series that's on the Trudy link that we made for you guys.
I know up here
I'll
while
add it on class.
we don't have a whole lot of pavers. We got concrete driveways. But my question is this: is there your product? Does it have like something to keep like ants out of the sand and weeds from growing up through it? Or I know it should be prepped accordingly on the bottom side, but you got people cut corners and stuff.
Oh, what they do?
I'm sure they do. It's in every business.
So when I used to go on quotes when I had my business, I used to love it when customers were like, "Oh well," and my apologies if anybody's named Jim Bob, but Jim Bob said that if I'd never have another ant or another weed again. Well, Jim Bob lied to you, ma'am.
You better hire him then and get it in writing.
Yeah, nature is undefeated. Okay, now with that said, obviously properly prepared joints, and whether you're using poly sand or whether you're using dry sand and letting a joint stabilizing sealer harden those joints is going to decrease and probably dramatically decrease the amount of weeds and ants that you have. If you've got ants, then you have an ant problem, so you need to treat your yard. Ants will destroy paver base. I've seen it on driveways. I've seen it on pool decks. They will tunnel through. I mean, anybody that's ever seen an ant farm before knows what they do to the soil. So, always treat not just the perimeter of the paver driveway or patio, but the entire yard for ants. And then weeds, deal with them as they come up. When I would do my annual maintenance, the way that I used to run my business is, we would do the initial clean sand seal. I offered them a 2-year warranty, and to take part of the warranty, they had to also do my 2-year maintenance program, where I went out once a year. I cleaned and inspected the driveway or the patio or whatever it was, and said, okay, you're good for another year. You're good for another year. It's time to start thinking about a top coat. Here's the price. But while I was there, if there was any problem areas, a joint that maybe there was one failed joint or a trouble spot like near a downspout, or if they didn't have gutters where the drip edge is on the garage and those pavers just get beat up, I would just scrape out that spot, put some new sand in and squirt some sealer in that joint, do a little touch up for them while I was there. Take me 15 minutes. But little things like that go a long way. And that's how, I believe it was the last year I was in business, or let me rephrase that. The last year in business, I tracked my source of customers. And I believe the number, it was 68 point something, but 68 point something % of my business was from referrals because of repeat customers, because of doing little things like that. One thing I always made sure of, that when people used me, they got what they paid for and then some. And that's what gets people talking and spreading the word. Because, I forget what the stats are. If an angry customer will tell 10 people and a happy customer might tell one person. So if you can, go the extra mile, do the right thing. Again, make sure they get what they paid for, and then something extra. That just, you can't buy that type of advertising. I'd always do stuff like, oh, hey, I saw that this one gutter had some mold on it. I hit it real quick. That way, you don't get a nasty letter from your HOA. Just little things like that take 10 minutes, go a long way.
Yeah, go above and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when I clean service stations, we spray the garbage cans off.
Yeah.
And I had somebody ask me, said, "Do you charge them for that?" Well, no, I don't. I'm right there. A lot of the dirt's coming from me anyway, from my surface cleaner, splattering up on the bottom of them. So you might as well just go ahead, spray them a little bit, knock the dirt off of them, be done with it. That and we may even wipe the pumps down as we going down through there to get finished.
It's funny because I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's little things, man. I mean, people just overlook little things that make customers more happy than you just going out there doing a job and doing what you're supposed to do, what you're getting paid to do. All right, I'm done. Well, you left a dirt spot right there at the edge of the driveway that you should have just washed on down the road a little bit to the drain.
It's funny because when I was a contractor, my 3 least favorite words were, while you're here, while you're here, can you do these 50 extra things for no extra money? But on the flip side, while I was there, I would do, a little extra thing for no extra money, but it's because I wanted to do it, but again,
we think it's different like that. It's like I just required 6 gas stations. We're doing the windows, getting ready to do the pressure washing and all that. But when we went, we looked at the stores. I met with the guy and we was talking. We set a price. I got started on a Monday and I was at the 3rd location, and he caught up with me there and he said, "You didn't scrape all of the decals off of all the sign and stuff off of the windows and doors at the first location you was at." And I said, "Wasn't supposed to." He said, "Yeah, I want everything off the windows and doors." I said, "Well, you didn't tell me that." So now you're consuming a lot more time for me to scrape all this stuff off, and then I got to get all the glue off of the window. What turned into, you should be there an hour, then turned into 2 hours.
Yep.
On a simple window washing job. But they don't look at stuff like that. So, the next month when I do that store, I told him, I said, "I get it. Next month when I go by there, I'll go by and get me a scraper, and anything else on them, any of the rest of them, I'll take care of it for you."
Yep. And when you do, when you have those jobs where they add an extra 30 minutes here, an extra hour there, next thing you know, 4 hours later, 4 hours extra in the day, but that goes back to, being up front with your customer, making sure the scope of work is detailed for you and for them. It's not that we're trying to pull anything over on anybody or whatever. You just make sure that everything has a clear understanding up front. And that's another thing that I preach on when I do training classes is, for example, my speech on stains on pavers or concrete, but I was 99.9% paver sealing. So I tell my customers, stains on pavers are like stains in your laundry. Sometimes they come all the way out. Sometimes they just improve. Sometimes they don't budge. I said, but we're going to hit them with everything we've got. And to steal a line from my boss, we're going to make your pavers look as good as your pavers can look. So, sometimes I can turn water into wine. Sometimes I just put lipstick on a pig. Sometimes you just can't do a whole lot. So you do what you can. You set the expectations up front, because if you don't set expectations up front or handle challenges up front and you try to address it on the back end, then it sounds like you're making excuses.
Yep.
And it doesn't come across good. So I always try to be 1,000% upfront about everything.
Yeah, I got into that when I first got into it because you see these pictures, people do a driveway and it's got a big oil stain on it, and then they show a before and the after looks like it's brand new concrete. There's not even a slight stain there. I'm like, wow, man. So go out and you do your job. Yeah, man, I can get that out. 2 days later, you're still there trying to get this oil stain up out of this dude's driveway. That's not coming out. So
we've all been there.
Then right from the get-go, I'm like, well, I learned real quick, like, you're not getting all that oil stain out of that concrete.
Yeah. There have been a couple times where, I handed a check back to a customer. Like one of them was oil stains on concrete. Man, we were there for 5 or 6 hours on this driveway and just, couldn't do it. So I said, I'm not charging you anything. I couldn't do what you wanted done. So she's like, but you were here all day. I said, that's all right. So, so I switched from when I opened up my company, I sold off different divisions, and we were pressure washing, roof washers, house washers, paver sealing. But within 6 months of starting the pressure washing business, within 6 months I went complete paver sealing. So I didn't have to do too many oil stained concrete driveways. Thank goodness.
So is y'all's product, is it oil or water based?
Water. So the Cat 5, which is a flagship product, and Cyclone are water-based film formers. We do have solvent-based film formers for people in other climates, and your reps can tell you about that. You can see them on the website too. Breakwall, the penetrating sealer, is water-based, and then Seawall, the penetrating solvent-based sealer, is what's the base of that one? It's not oil. Naphtha MVP or something like that. I'd have to look at the TDS on that one. Oh, hang on a second. Sorry. Just had a customer text me about an order. Lost my train of thought. Oh, so you hear people talk about solvent-based sealers in Florida, and I just want to clear something up real quick, because I just talked about a penetrating solvent-based sealer that I use all the time, Seawall. Penetrating solvent-based sealers, or at least our penetrating solvent-based sealer, is fine to use in Florida. I've used it on concrete. I've used it on natural stone. I've used it on regular pavers. Film-forming solvent-based sealers are a no-no in Florida. 99.9% of the time. There's always that exception. Just because, like I said earlier, they seal too good almost, and they trap moisture. They don't allow it to be a breathable, permeable system. So I just want to cover that real quick. I just found the comments, and I was trying to join the chat so I could reply to somebody, and I don't know what I'm doing over here. So
what sets the Trident product ahead of other products?
Yeah, and again, I can kind of speak to this because I was a contractor, and I've used every major sealer out there except for one that came out a couple of years ago, just because by the time it came out, I had already been using Trident for a few years exclusively. So I have nothing bad to say about any sealer, nor would I. But I will say about Trident is aside from the support and the education, because I already covered that, to me, it was the most forgivable product I had ever used. For example, the self-levelers that are in Trident are unmatched. I can walk on a top coat and really not worry about it. Now, like if I just sprayed it, I don't worry about it. Now, if I sprayed it and then 20 minutes later I go to walk on it and it started to tack up, obviously you can't do that. But if it's a freshly sprayed top coat, I've not had an issue with it before. I've had it rain. So we say our sealers are rain safe in 90 minutes. This is the Trident hat. Our sealers are rain safe in 90 minutes. Go back to my contractor hat. I've had it rain on a job 30 minutes after it was done. I've had no issues. I've had it rain while I'm putting the top coat down because Florida decided to be Florida. Literally, the sky was perfect blue. There was no clouds in the sky. I mixed up my material, and as I'm spraying my top coat, the sky turned black and rained for about 10 minutes. Mm. And it did give the sealer like an uneven, splotchy look. I just waited for the rain to stop. I went out there with a broom and I broomed around the sealer and evened it out. I let it dry. I came back the next day, and the only thing that had happened was the sheen was not as high. The finish was still, it was even, There were no white spots, hazes, dots, nothing. But the sheen was a little muted because the water, the rain, had diluted that top coat. So all I had to do was mix up another small batch, spray down another top coat. It was fine. So in the 6 years I've been using Trident, I have never had a Trident product fail me. I'll admit I have failed a couple of times, when it's 1,000 degrees outside in July and you're tired, you want to get done and go home, and you just do something dumb. I'm guilty of that a couple of times, but I've never had the product fail. Yeah. So like I said, the quality and the forgiveness of the product, to me, is between that and the support and the education. There's no reason for me to go anywhere else. So, and that's nothing bad about any other product or rep or anything like that. It's just I found what worked for my business. As business owners, we've got to decide the type of people that we want to partner with, the type of products we want to partner with. Does their values align with our values? Are we looking for the absolute cheapest stuff? Are we looking for the best stuff? Are we looking for a common, there's something out there for everybody. So, give us a shot, and hopefully we can convince you that we're the right one. I had to throw a little sales plug there. My boss would get mad at me. So,
you'll be all right. Yeah. But hey guys, this event's gonna go on. It's a free training event. It's free, but if you had to put a price tag on, it's going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 a person. So you're going to get a lot of knowledge, a lot of stuff going to be covered in one day.
Yeah. So I don't leave training class until every question's been answered. Whether I have to make up an answer or not, who knows? But
bring your notebook, bring your pen, bring your recorder, whatever you got to do to get the information down for you don't forget it. But this is March the 19th. It's going to be at the Panhandle Power Wash Warehouse, 85 Archer Road in Freeport, Florida. Go to Panhandle website, get registered for that. Go to Trident website and get registered for it. And so we just going to look to have a good time down there. And Justin, man, it's been pretty wild, man. We've been on here an hour already. You talked so long. A lot of knowledge stuff that, I'm not a paver guy. Like I said, we don't have a lot of them up here. I mean, there's a few neighborhoods that have them, and it's not a lot of them. And but I always like to learn and be educated on different stuff and sit in on podcasts with people like yourself and stuff to get more knowledge of it, because you never know where you're going to wind up in this industry, what you're going to wind up doing. I may land a house next week that's got a big paver driveway, and they want it sealed and sanded and everything. And so now I have somebody in my back pocket. The key said great stuff, Justin. He was good tonight. A lot of knowledge went out, man. It was nice to meet you, and I hope I get down there myself to get to this thing. I think the wife's taking off a week.
You better be.
That day. I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. And I know Trudy's not with us tonight. I appreciate her hosting this event, giving us some material to work with as far as pavers and concrete and everything else. I mentioned my phone number before, 630-549-4614. If I'm not your rep, I'll get you pointed in the right direction. We're just here to help you guys. So reach out to us and we'll be glad to take care of you guys.
Yeah, you can hit him up on Facebook.
Yep.
Messenger. Anyway, that's the way I got a hold of him anyway. But guys, man, I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. James Moore says Justin's the wizard. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Trident.
That's right.
Well, guys, we look forward to seeing everybody March the 19th down at the Panhandle Warehouse in Freeport, Florida. God bless y'all, and y'all be safe. Thanks, Justin, for a good show, man.
Thank you.